Welcome everyone to today's council meeting. We have a regular council meeting tonight, Tuesday, May 26, 2026. That's a mouthful, right? 26 on the 2026. Welcome everyone. So I just want to remind council tonight that we're going to continue to implement our 2-minute rule that we're testing out for our debate purposes, and just to kind of keep things concise and clear. I have a little timer here in the interim. We have a few things on our schedule tonight, but before we get started, I just want to acknowledge and be thankful for the land that we're blessed to live and work on, and to honor those who came before us. We value the enduring relationships with the French pioneers, the Indigenous peoples who continue to share their history, knowledge, and culture with our community. We're also thankful for the generations whose faith and dedication helped shape this community into the beautiful city that we enjoy today in Beaumont. So without further ado, we will go to the adoption of the agenda. And Madam Clerk, are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Yes, Mayor, we have two amendments to the agenda. One is to item 6.2. There was an error in the motion that was presented, so we have updated the report to reflect the proper recommendation. And then item 5.1, regular council meeting minutes, are proposed to be removed and brought back for approval at the June 9th regular council meeting.
Okay, thank you for that. So with those changes, with those amendments, we need the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Hyde, I'll get you to do that when it comes up here. I hope everyone enjoyed Beaumont Days this past weekend. It was a fabulous weekend. Beautiful weather, lots of people out. I know as council, we worked pretty hard serving up hot dogs. 3 times the amount that we expected. But hey, that's good. We had to do some pivots along the way, but managed to.
Good job.
Teamwork. Thank you, everyone. Okay, go ahead.
Also moved that the May 26, 2026 regular council agenda be adopted with the following amendments. Do I need to read those? Oh. Item 6.2, water feed line project budget adjustment report in the May 26th regular council meeting agenda be replaced with the revised report. And item 5.1, regular council meeting minutes May 12, 2026 and the May 26, 2026 regular council meeting agenda be removed and brought back for approval at the June 6, 2026 regular council meeting.
Awesome. Any discussion about that? We'll go to a vote. I think everyone, so it's not showing all the numbers here, but it looks like so one person missing? Do it again? Okay. And that carried unanimously. Thank you. Continue on. Madam Clerk, are there any registered open forum?
There are no open forum presentations tonight.
Thank you. We'll go on now to the consent agenda. Okay, seeing none. If I could have a councillor.
Mayor?
Yes,
I can read out the motion since it's lengthy.
Okay, perfect. And then we'll get Councillor Henrod.
That council consent to approve the following agenda items without debate. 5.2, special council meeting minutes, May 19th, 2026. That council accept the minutes of the May 19th, 2026 special council meeting as presented. 6.3, Innovation Park Offsite Servicing Budget Adjustment. That an amendment to the 2026 capital budget as presented in confidential attachment 1 in the May 26, 2026 report be approved, and that attachment 1 remain confidential pursuant to section 30 of the Access to Information Act. 7.1, bylaw 1110-26, Land Use Bylaw amending bylaw, tarpaulin structure, first reading, that council give bylaw 111026, Land Use Bylaw amendment, first reading. 7.2, bylaw 1108-26, Municipal Policing Committee bylaw amending bylaw, that bylaw 1108-26, Municipal Policing Committee bylaw amending bylaw be given first reading, that bylaw 1108-26 be given second reading, that bylaw 1108-26 be considered for third reading, and that bylaw 1108-26 be given third reading. 7.3, 1105-26, Records Retention and Disposition Bylaw, first, second, and third reading. That bylaw 1105-26, Records Retention and Disposition Bylaw, a bylaw to authorize the destruction of municipal records be given first reading. That bylaw 1105-26 be given second reading. That bylaw 1105-26 be considered for third reading. And that bylaw 1105-26 be given third reading. 7.4, bylaw 1104-26, access to information bylaw, first, second, and third reading. That bylaw 1104-26, access to information bylaw, designating the chief administrative officer as the head under the Access to Information Act, be given first reading. That bylaw 1104-26 be given second reading. That bylaw 1104-26 be considered for third reading, and that bylaw 1104-26 be given third reading.
Thank you for that. I'll need a councillor to make a motion. Councillor Penrod?
Thank you, Mayor. I move that bylaw, nope. I move that the consent agenda be approved as read. Thank you.
Awesome. Any discussion on that? And we'll go to a vote. And that carried unanimously. Okay, moving right along here to business item number 1. That should clear out the room a bit. Thanks. Business item number 1, 6.1, elected officials remuneration midterm review. I guess we have a consultant. Yes, come forward. If you wouldn't mind just pressing the button and introducing yourself. And I think Ms. Dargy, you were going to open it up here.
Yes, I'll do a quick introduction here.
Okay.
So good evening, Mayor and Council, members of the public. I'm Joanne Dargy, Director of Legal and Legislative Services. With me this evening is Donna Motney, Director of People Services, and Pamela Walters with PW Walters Consulting Ltd. We are here this evening to present for your information the results of the midterm benchmarking analysis completed on the elected officials' base remuneration. I do want to note an error in the report. We are just providing this for information. There is no decision required this evening. In 2024, the city completed a total compensation review that examined the full compensation package for elected officials and also updated the council remuneration policy. The remuneration policy provides that a total compensation review will be conducted every 4 years, with a midterm review focused solely on base wages, with the intention of aligning the compensation philosophy and the comparator market. In accordance with the policy, administration completed the collection of compensation data for the midterm review from the same comparator municipalities used in the 2024 review. Once the data collection was complete, administration engaged P. Walters Consulting, who had also completed the 2024 analysis. This is to ensure consistency in the methodology, analysis, and presentation of the benchmarking results. I will now turn it over to Pamela to walk you through the analysis and final results.
Mayor and Councillor, may I have your attention for this conversation, and thank you for having me in this discussion. Again, I'm Pamela Walters. I'm a consultant through P. Walters Consulting, and what I'd like to do is just walk you through the highlights of the 2026 midterm base compensation review, just to kind of bring us up to date with where we're at. So nothing has changed substantively from the 2024 review. At that time, council was engaged to discuss the comparable municipalities, and that was based on a variety of factors and criteria. During that review, discussed and then adopted. So City of Spruce Grove, Leduc, Town of Cochrane, Town of Okotoks, City of Fort Saskatchewan, Chestermere, City of Lloydminster, City of Camrose, Town of Stony Plain, City of Cold Lake, Leduc County, City of Lacombe, and City of Wetaskiwin. So what we did in the 2024 review is we administered on the city's behalf and the council's behalf the gathering of that information. It was a more comprehensive review. This time around, we are looking at more primarily the base salary components, which are the fixed components of compensation for mayor and councillor, and the deputy mayor as well. And the focus of the compensation review was with not only those agreed upon comparables, but also keeping the base salary components at the 60th percentile. I want to backtrack actually just for a minute. From a process standpoint, what we did is the City of Beaumont's Administration, Legal Services and Human Resources team had gone in and asked for data. And then what we did is we cross-validated some of that data as well as the process for the analysis as well, just to make sure that the process itself between 2024 and 2026 was consistent. So where this brings us to from a highlight standpoint for the mayor's position, during the 2024 analysis, I apologize for my voice, we looked at full-time mayors and we were looking at whether or not where their base compensation was at. So in 2024, the full-time mayor, Beaumont's there at the top, and the average and median are there for information. The 60th percentile is where we're constantly or continually looking at for the comparison point for council. So in 2024, the mayor's comparison was sitting at about 1.7% or 107% of the comparable market. In 2026, the mayor's full-time councillor comparison point increased to $108,348 per year. So that brings the Beaumont comparison of $107,161 to roughly 99% of market. So there's been roughly an 8% or 7.84% increase in the annual compensation with municipalities for full-time mayors. However, that does not mean we're asking or looking at an 8% increase. That just means that point 2024 to point 2026, there was a roughly 8% increase. So that's roughly $7,879 per year or $657 per month. As the underlying peer municipalities also have decided during their 2024 reviews to either increase their mayor's compensation at that time and also subsequently apply a general adjustment often referred to as cost of living or COLA, it is likely that's where the gap has come in from between the 2024 and the 2026 years. For the councillors, again in 2024, Beaumont's council compensation was sitting at $42,864. The 60th percentile was sitting at $42,610, which put the councillors at roughly 100% of market. So no adjustments were recommended at that time. In 2026, the councillor compensation, much like the mayor compensation, has increased, and the collective 60th percentile is now sitting at $47,289. That puts the Beaumont's councillor annual compensation at roughly 91% of the market. There's been roughly 11% increase or $4,679 annual increase in that period of time, or roughly $390 per month. And again, it's likely that the general increases and also any decisions in the 2024 period for those comparable municipalities relative to the initial starting point for a councillor for their positions is likely due to the difference there. For the deputy mayor, it gets a little bit more tricky. So in 2024, when we did the analysis, because some municipalities don't have a deputy mayor, and more primarily because some municipalities do not change the compensation between a councillor and a deputy mayor, the way that we conducted the analysis was to try to normalize that. So we rolled everything back to monthly rather than looking at everything annual, because again, deputy mayors may not always be on an annual basis. They could be 2 months, 4 months, etc. So at the time, what we really looked at was primarily those councillors and those deputy mayors and what the differential was for municipalities at that time that declared that they had a deputy mayor and also declared that they paid a difference between their deputy mayor and councillors. So that was the fundamental kind of component of the analysis at the time. In 2024, Beaumont's monthly differential between the councillor and the deputy mayor was sitting at roughly $267 per month. It was reflected in policy as an annualized number, but again, we've brought that analysis down to monthly. The 60th percentile at the time was $499. Council at the time did not decide to change the monthly differential between the deputy mayor and council. So that was the number that was the 60th percentile. That number was, Beaumont's number, apologies, was roughly 54% of that. In 2026, that same analysis produces a number of about $538 per month, which is again almost an 8% differential. The approach that we're taking to be consistent is not a policy approach in the analysis. So it's not a policy change to say that the deputy mayor differential will in fact change between councillors and deputy mayors. So the way that we've looked at the analysis to keep things consistent under policy is that the $267 per month still stays. It's applied on top of the councillor adjustment, which would be reflective of your current practice as it exists today. So when you add the, I don't know if I can go backwards here, but if you add the $47,000, translate that into, and add, the $538 per month on top of that, that would bring up the deputy mayor number to about 50,550, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. If I've got my zeros wrong on that one, I do apologize. And so 50,505, I apologize, I got my number on the 5 and the 0 wrong. And so what we're looking at is, again, just an information exchange for the differential. And at this time, there's no decision that was put in front of us for the analysis standpoint to look at upping the deputy mayor monthly differential to meet the 60th percentile. So I don't want to belabor that. I just want to lay out the fact that in lots of other cases between the mayor and the councillor, we talk about the 60th percentile in the market. The deputy mayor is about the only one where we provide that information to you, but we're not referring to the 60th percentile for the deputy mayor because the monthly differential is in fact off. So that would be the primary component of my presentation. Is there any questions? There's a lot of data in there, so if anybody has any questions of myself or Joanne or any of the Beaumont team, I open the floor to that.
First of all, thank you so much for the presentation and for the visuals and explaining the process that you went through. I appreciate that. Any questions from councillors? All right.
Okay,
We don't.
okay,
Thank you so much.
absolutely. Do I just?
Do we have a motion here for information only? Okay.
Thank you. I will move that the May 26, 2026 report, elected officials remuneration midterm review be accepted as information.
Any discussion? We'll go to a vote. And that carried unanimously. All right, water feed line project budget adjustment, and that is Mr. Lewicki. What number are you? 7? Here we go.
Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the public. My name is Aaron Lewicki, and I am the Director of Infrastructure and Engineering for the City of Beaumont. Tonight, I am seeking approval for a budget amendment to the water feed line project and to revise the project's funding sources. The construction of the water feed line was approved as part of the 2025 capital budget and includes construction of a water line from the main pump house along 50th Avenue to the St. Vital pump house. The 2023 Utility and Stormwater Master Plan identified this project as a critical need for the city to meet increased demands while also improving reliability and redundancy for the water supply and distribution system. The project has been awarded to a qualified contractor with work planned to start this week and continue through the 2026 construction season and may extend into 2027, depending on weather, subsurface conditions, and other construction-related factors. The accepted bid, although within the approved budget, exceeded the pre-tender estimate completed by the city's consultant. The resulting variance in bid pricing versus the pre-tender estimate requires additional funds to be approved to replenish the contingency portion of the project. Any unused funds will be returned to reserve should they not be required to complete the work. Additionally, the proposed budget amendment will revise the project's funding sources as outlined in the financial analysis section. Given the early stage of construction, it is advisable to proceed with the appropriate contingency in accordance with construction best practices and the current class of estimate to address potential unforeseen conditions. Administration recommends approval of the funding outlined in Attachment 2 to support successful completion of the project. That concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lubecki. Attachment 2, did you say? It was a name, attachment 1, project background?
To the mayor, yes, Attachment 2 is the confidential financial
Oh,
information.
that's the one that was sent.
attachment.
Gotcha. Thank you. Councillors, any questions for Mr. Lubecki on anything? Okay. Thank you. We're good. So we'll need a motion for that. You do have a question? Sorry about that.
So I just wanted to ask around, there's a redesignation of the funding sources, and it makes sense on the front of it, but I just wanted to ask if we were to decide that the report outlines that there's some risk associated with financing through the leviable portion, or financing the leviable portion with the utility reserves, if I have that right. Just wondering, if we decided we didn't like that risk profile, what would be our other options to fund this? And what would be the kind of risk reward of doing it the original way?
So through the mayor to Councillor Penrod, so we can't fund it the original way that we had. So when the project was originally approved, the offsite levy review was underway. And so we made an assumption, not knowing whether or not the project would be leviable. It was entirely funded from grant. So after discussions with the province and discovering that it is leviable, we don't have sufficient levy funds to pay for the leviable portion at this time. In conversation with the province, they did not allow us to continue with that original funding source as interim financing. So the only other option available, let me rephrase. There would normally be two options available for financing. We've done it on one of the other ones. For example, in the 2026 budget, is that we debt financed some of the utility or levy infrastructure. However, there are strict rules around when you can use debt, and because the project is underway and has incurred costs, debt is no longer an eligible funding source. So the only other option available to us is financing internally through our own reserve structure. Now, the utility reserve makes the most sense for water infrastructure. If we're not comfortable with that risk, the project would have to halt or cease at this point until we collect some or sufficient money on the levies in order to pay that portion. So that's really the risk is, there is some risk that if development was to stall or stop, then levies not coming in, we would not recover that money as quickly, but that you have to weigh against the risk of the water supply system itself.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the extra color on there. Just the Coles notes that I take away from that is we've kind of explored every option, and in lines with government policy and legislation, this is our best option to go forward. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Van Newkirk?
Yeah, I was just going to say I would move the motion. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no other questions are on the docket here, so thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I would move that the 2026 capital budget be amended and funded as outlined in confidential attachment 2 in the May 26, 2026 report, and that attachment 2 remain confidential pursuant to Section 30 of the Access to Information Act.
Any discussion? Go to a vote. And that carried unanimously. Leo Schwartz.
Yeah, just a concluding remark on this project and more for the edification of the public, and to thank council for their patience. This thing came in way over budget last year as it was first sent out for RFP, and staff did a wonderful job of scrambling to restructure and resubmit and change the whole makeup of the project to then get it within budget. But that, as Aaron said, ate up the contingency. So we could go forward and then have to come back every time we needed to dip into that contingency, or this way we replenish it. If we don't use it, it goes right back in. So thanks, council, for your patience. I just wanted to explain to the public that this was a fancy piece of work, and thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to continue on here to 6.4, Council Policy C59, Privacy Management and Access to Information. And I believe, Ms. Darget, you're going to be taking that lead on that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council, members of the public. As noted earlier, I'm Joanne Dargy, Director of LLS. With me this evening is Lorelei Magnan, whose title is Records Management Coordinator, but a large portion of her portfolio is also acting as our Privacy and Access Coordinator. We are here this evening to seek council approval of the city's new Privacy Management and Access to Information policy and to provide you with information about this new program. I'm going to turn it over to Lorelei to give you a brief background of how we got here.
Go ahead.
Good evening. Last June, Alberta repealed the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act and replaced it with two new pieces of legislation, the Access to Information Act and the Protection of Privacy Act. The new framework distinguishes between the public's right to access records and the city's obligations to protect personal information. The new legislation introduced a number of changes for municipalities. Some of the changes are operational in nature, such as updated requirements around responding to and documenting privacy breaches. Other changes are broader administrative requirements, including the need for the city to establish and maintain a privacy management program. This program focuses on how the city collects, uses, discloses, and safeguards personal information.
Thank you, Lorelei. As Lorelei mentioned, as a result of the amendments to the Alberta's access and privacy legislation, municipalities are now required to establish a formal privacy management program, or PMP, by June 11th, 2026. The program is to consist of documented policies and procedures that support compliance with the city's obligations under the new legislation. The province, in its information fact sheet, has described a PMP as an evolving framework of policies, procedures, and tools intended to ensure privacy is protected and to ensure the city's internal policies and procedures align with the privacy legislation. At this time, there is no prescribed provincial template or single required format for how municipalities must structure a privacy management program. As a result, and with the assistance of legal counsel and much research from other jurisdictions with similar legislation, administration has developed an approach using multiple levels of governance documents. The city's approach consists of several interconnected components, including a council policy that we're presenting tonight, administrative directives and procedures, the designation by bylaw of the head, an update of the city's records retention bylaw, and supporting administrative procedures related to records management, information management, and information security. The proposed Council Policy C59 is intended to serve as the foundational governance document for the city's privacy management program. The policy establishes the city's guiding principles, accountability framework, and organizational expectations related to access to information and protection of privacy. Many of the city's privacy obligations intersect with records management, cybersecurity, information technology, and operational business practices. Embedding those requirements into related administrative directives and procedures allows the program to evolve with operational practices and legislative interpretation. Administration recognizes that the legislation introduces several new and evolving concepts, and an interpretation and implementation practices across Alberta municipalities is still developing. As guidance from the province and the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner continues to evolve, administration will continue refining the supporting documents to ensure the program remains aligned with legislative requirements and operational needs. For now, administration has addressed the requirements as it currently understands them. As noted, the city's privacy management program is the collection of policies, documents, procedures, and tools the city uses to administer its privacy and access obligations. The proposed privacy management and access to information policy presented today is the foundational component of the city's broader privacy management program. This does not represent the completion of the work, and administration will continue to enhance the program over time as legislative expectations become known and organizational practices and technology continue to evolve. I'm also pleased to inform Council that the city's Access and Privacy webpage is one of the tools we are using to implement the city's privacy management program. In addition to information on the overall program, the page provides information to the public on how they can request corrections to their personal information, how they can file a privacy complaint regarding how their personal information has been collected or used, and how to make a request for information. That concludes administration's presentation. We'd be happy to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tarji and Lorelei. Councillors, any questions? Councillor Murray.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just had a question in regards to the privacy officer. Is that a role that's going to already, do we already have an FTE for this role, or will be requiring to hire somebody in addition to?
Thank you, Mayor. Through to Councillor Murray. So the privacy officer will be filled by the role of the manager of legislative services.
Okay, thank you.
No more questions? That's it. Thank you so much for that information, for updating us on those policies. I will need a clerk. Coltsmith.
Thank you. I move that Council Policy C59, Privacy Management and Access to Information, as set out in Attachment 1 of the May 26, 2026 Council Report, be approved.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll go to a vote. And that carried unanimously. Thank you. Right now we go on to 6.5, would be me, the land use bylaw option. Motion is that by the July 21st, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting, administration provide a report outlining options to ensure the existing residential character of established neighborhoods is preserved, including restricting or regulating development or redevelopment of individual parcels, and that the report include, at minimum, an analysis of potential planning and land use bylaw amendments, zoning, considerations, density implications, if any legal authority impacts on property rights. So my purpose in bringing forth this is to continue the momentum of being able to identify what are the areas that we need to make some revisions to in the land use bylaw based on what we heard from residents, in particular in areas that are what we would consider established neighborhoods and not having surprises down the road, that we want to make sure that we understand clearly what the existing bylaw says, what can or can't happen in those particular neighborhoods, and then what changes we would need to make based on the information that we get. So I hope you will support this motion. I'll open it up for any questions. All right, then we'll just go to a vote then. And let's vote. And that carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Now we'll go on to the next motion. And this is your Councillor Penrod, 6.6. I'll open.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that by June 15th, 2026, the Mayor, on behalf of Council, write to the Government of Alberta expressing concerns about the proposed changes to the AISH Act and Alberta Disability Assistance Program. Request an immediate pause to implementation pending further review. Call for meaningful and accessible consultation with persons with disabilities and community stakeholders, and request public reporting on the anticipated impacts before any changes proceed. And I'll just speak to that. Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to bring this important issue forward for Council's deliberation today. And thus begs the question, what makes this issue worthy of our attention and potential action? While I anticipate there will be legitimate questions from Council, I want to root this motion in a core commitment of Council, building trust with our community by listening and responding to those voices that make Beaumont a unique and wonderful place to live. Along those lines, I'd like to refresh our memories by quoting resident Carly Drew, whose recent presentation at Public Forum on May 12th forms the basis of my motion. Ms. Drew concluded that night, "As your constituent," I quote, "as your constituent, I respectfully and humbly encourage you to consider joining other municipalities and bringing forward a formal motion calling for a pause to ADAP with the intention of then consulting with Albertans with disabilities in an accessible and transparent way, publicly releasing socioeconomic implications, and ensuring transition safeguards to prevent fallout. This decision would be an act of nonpartisan, responsible governance and would provide the City of Beaumont with time and information to prepare." End quote. So I look forward to answering your questions and engaging in healthy debate on this motion in service of the best interests of Beaumont. What I really want to emphasize up front is that the motion is crafted in such a way as to entrust our mayor with support from administration to craft a letter that gets the tone of this right. This isn't about grandstanding or calling anyone on the carpet. This motion is about two things. First, our commitment to having the voices of the people we represent drive our decisions as council. And second, continuing to position Beaumont as an active partner with the Government of Alberta that is interested in and capable of helping the province deliver its priorities in a way that maximizes benefits to our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penrod. Any councillors that want to ask questions at this point? I will start the timer or debate. Go ahead. Councillor Murray.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Penrod, for your bringing this motion forward, as well as thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak on it. I don't have so many questions, but just a little bit of a comment, because I feel like this is a situation where, in my personal opinion, I would like to be able to support this letter, but I do feel some conflict in that because of the fact that I don't believe that the government has completed what we're actually waiting for further detail. And I actually wonder if a letter such as this type of request would be better stated from the team that already works with Carly, or individuals like Carly, such as her doctor or support workers and things like that, who really understand her physical challenges and the reason why she would be able to apply for AISH or continue on AISH. And then my last thought is that with this program, it does talk that there is still going to be the option to remain on AISH if you qualify, and the ADAP as a new program. So I just feel very torn, so I just wanted to make my comments, and hopefully you can speak to them.
Thank you. I'll get you to speak to it once we kind of have people chime in here. Any other? Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Van Newkirk?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. For me, I have a genuine sympathy for Albertans who rely on disability assistance programs, and I don't dismiss concerns that have been raised in this chamber and in the community. However, I'm not convinced that a letter from the City of the Beaumont is the mechanism that will bring about the meaningful change here. The province has already completed public engagement and passed enabling legislation, and implementation is 5 weeks away. I'll remind the room that this is a provincial program, provincially funded and administered, and advocacy on its design belongs with the province's own processes, MLAs, advocacy organizations, and affected individuals who had and have a direct standing to be heard. For me, I hope that those who are affected find the support and the voice that they need through those channels, but tonight I'll be voting against this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor Van Newkirk. Anybody else want to chime in? Councillor Hyde and then Councillor Tellenbos.
This is a very difficult situation that I find myself very close to, as I have members of my family and extended family that have been on AISH, many of my friends and their kids and everything like that. So it's a moral dilemma as well as a political one. When I was elected, I basically, two things: speak and advocate on behalf of the residents of Beaumont, enact and revise bylaw and policies on behalf of said residents, and to enhance quality of life for the people of Beaumont. I have to look at this and say, how do I use this in those two contexts? I really want to support this, but I think that it's a little harsh, and I think that we can be a little softer in our approach to this. The immediate pause part is where I'm having a little bit of an issue with this. It's a little harsh. And so would you be open to a friendly amendment to this to say, take out the request for immediate pause of the invitation pending a further review, and ask for some meaningful and accessible consultation? That's where I could just calm it down just a little bit. So it's maybe just saying that we want to advocate on the people with disabilities in Beaumont, but we're not asking you to stop and pause this. We just want some more consultation. That's where I would be at.
Do you want to speak to the amendment?
Thanks, Mayor. And thank you, Councillor Hyde, for putting that forward. Just a comment quickly. You'll notice that those three asks came directly from Carly's presentation. I don't think she pulled them out of the sky. I think Inclusion Alberta and other groups, to Councillor Murray's point, have been advocating on this file. And that's a pretty common ask, or a common piece across the 11 other municipalities, representing about 3 million Albertans, have passed to date. But I hear your point, and as I said initially, the main thrust of this motion is to authorize the mayor to write a letter that gets the tone right. And so in that sense, I would absolutely entertain that as a friendly amendment to this motion.
So what you're saying is you would take out the request for immediate pause?
Yeah, so I think administration's already captured it there on the screen.
Okay.
Anything?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll just,
Yep.
thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Tellenbos.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for bringing this forward. I do appreciate, obviously, your involvement in the research in this process. It is my understanding that obviously the change that has come forward, there was identification of some issues with the initial process, or the existing process, I should say. And as Councillor Van Newkirk had mentioned, it's also my understanding that there has been significant stakeholder engagement to the point that there were changes made to the initial program that was proposed, which actually captured the change that some groups, so people with profound disabilities, seniors and palliative cases, can remain on AISH without reassessment. So there were some changes that were made based on that feedback. And my understanding in terms of stakeholders that were involved was disability sector as well as public engagement through online survey submissions and written feedback. Given that this is more of a provincial decision, I would have to agree that I just can't get behind this the way it's worded right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tellenboss. Wow, you guys are like doing great here under your 2-minute mark. Any other comments? Well, let me chime in on this. I want to first of all speak to this motion with honesty and care because our residents deserve both. I feel for the people who rely on AISH. Their stability and dignity are real concerns, but this council's compassion is not in question here. What is in question is whether sending this letter is the right and appropriate action for us to take, and I believe personally it is not, based on some of these things that have already been mentioned. As a council, we're doing our part. We've engaged our MLA. We've talked to Alberta municipalities, mid-size city mayors caucus. We're asking the right questions through the right channels. We're getting the information, and I believe that's our role, and it's working. As you know, on May 8th, the AB Munis did engage with the assistant deputy minister responsible for this transition. It was reported that the members walked away from that meeting better equipped to serve their communities, not alarmed and not calling for a halt. It is also worth noting, in my opinion, that neither AB Munis nor MCMC have brought this forward as an advocacy issue, meaning they trust that the province has the expertise and process to transition people effectively and have done their work. Council, I just want you to think about what we're really voting on here is a motion that directs the province on our timeline to whether it be to stop, reconsult, or report back. To me, this is not a concern, it's more of an instructive. And if we write this letter directing the province in this way, then we step out of our municipal governance lane and into a role that I'm not comfortable with in activism. And once we cross that line, we set a precedent. So it matters how we choose today. I respect that others have written letters, but 11 or 14 out of 334 municipalities is only about 4%. But my decision is not shaped by what others are doing, but what is right for this council's integrity and mandate. Good governance and genuine compassion can coexist. We will continue to support our residents, connecting them with the resources they need. Compassion, though, without boundaries, however, is not governance. It is a reaction. And so for that reason, I cannot support this. I choose to stay in the municipal lane and maintain our role as governance and give this over to the provincial jurisdiction. Councillor Penrod, would you like to speak to it before we go to a vote?
Yeah, Mayor, I will close. I see the way this is heading, and so I won't belabor the point, but I would just like to correct, though maybe 4% of the total municipalities in Alberta have passed similar motions and written letters. Those 4% of municipalities, 11, include 25% of the mid-sized cities mayor's caucus and include almost 3 million, the representation of almost 3 million Albertans. The gold standard of social policy development is nothing about us without us. Whatever our assessment is of the amount and quality of the engagement that the Government of Alberta has conducted in the process of passing the enabling legislation and developing the ministerial guidelines to curtail AISH enrollment and develop a new stream of disability benefits and work supports, whatever our assessment are, we're hearing loud and clear from the people who will be most affected by these changes and who are most intimately acquainted with what it is like to navigate our community with disabilities, that they do not feel adequately heard on this matter. So this is not a matter where municipalities need to stay in their own lane. This is an instance where we acknowledge change is needed, and the Government of Alberta, to Councillor Van Nieuwkerk's point, has the jurisdiction and the mandate to make those changes. But we as partners in delivering services on the ground have a duty to inform the province when we are hearing about concerns or issues that have the potential to impact the successful rollout of those changes. This is especially true when the changes look like they will affect some of the most vulnerable people in our community in ways that challenge our ability to deliver core municipal services. At the end of the day, this is not a question of whether or not the province of Alberta is listening to its disabled members. The question is, what will we do on behalf of our residents who've specifically asked for our solidarity and advocacy on this matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Penrod. We'll go to a vote. So that was defeated 5-2 with Councillor Penrod and I think Councillor Natellenbos? No, Councillor. I can't see who the people are. You got them? Okay, thanks. Hyde. Thank you for that discussion and debate, for bringing that forward and for discussion on that. All right, we'll continue on here to going on down to CAO update. Sorry?
It said opposed. It should have said in favor.
Oh, did they say? Did you say it is opposed? It was defeated, yeah, that's correct. What did you say? I didn't see what you had put there. Yeah. That's correct. Yes, Hyde and Penrod opposed. Thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you. Good catch. Good catch, Nathan. Okay, we'll move on now to CAO update 8.1. We'll give it over to our CAO.
All right, thank you very much. I've got a kind of a long update. There's a whole bunch of activities, but I'll try and be as brief as I can. So first and foremost, congratulations to our city's fire chief, Chief Melvin, for municipalities over 15,000. This committee was one of the outcomes of Municipal Affairs Fire Service Review. It's a platform, an opportunity to develop and share information between the province and the fire service, identifying and prioritizing issues. Jay was picked because of his extensive experience and knowledge that he'll bring to this committee. Community services. FCSS, the weekly Create and Connect after school group has started for children in grades 3 to 5 with a focus on building social and emotional development. Youth also had the opportunity to attend a life skills workshop on emotional well-being and employment readiness workshop, focus on helping them get ready for entering the work world. Over the last few weeks, children grades 3 to 5 have been participating in the Create and Connect after school group. It's focused on social and emotional development. They also attended workshops on emotional well-being and employment readiness. The Dad Strong program, facilitated by a Great Dad Academy, is wrapping up this month after helping fathers build emotional regulation, parenting confidence, and social connection. So this is just an example of some of our programs being proactive with the psychological and mental health of our community, and that continues into the CYBC. They hosted their first Dungeons and Dragons game night where they had a total of 15 children, youth, and their families. And if you've driven by the BYC, you'll see that the mural is about 60% completed. They even had a article done on the journal. It looks fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Economic development, we will have a booth at the Nisku Energy Show this week, which begins tomorrow, and that's a council initiative. Council wants to make sure we have a presence in the region, so it'll start off with a breakfast in the morning. We will also have people there from our economic development team. I drove by Silent Ice area there yesterday, and it looks pretty cool, some of the big shiny toys they have out there, so it'll be good to get out and do some networking. Infrastructure and engineering, lots of work going on. We talked about the 50th Street road work. They're completing the minor road work this week on 50th Street between 44th and 30th Ave. This work will include some rolling closures. There's great signage out there and posts on our website. The feed line, which we talked about tonight, hydroback work will begin. Council had asked a question last week about where we're going from east to west and west to east, and it's a combination thereof. I will mention that a lot of the work is going to be directional drilling because that is a very busy area as well. We also put, and we will do regular updates, we have added signs to 625 and the 50th Street intersection. The lane designation sign has been included. Pavement markings will be completed later this spring once we start our painting program. A couple questions have been asked. I know Councillor Tellenboss had asked me, and I didn't know the answer to this, so I had to go out and get it, and that's why is there only one sign northbound? And the reason being is that the intersection, the way it's designed, the what we call a right turning lane is not regulation lane. It's actually not a lane. So when you think about it, people should actually be turning from that center lane, which nobody does. That said, we will be fixing that as part of the upgrades to when the Innovation Park and the AMTA with that intersection will receive some upgrades. 30th Avenue pathway, that was that piece of path that had not been completed over a number of years ago, so that's now in place, and they're fixing the landscaping, so it looks pretty good down there. Russo Sports Field project. This is a big project that's going on down in Russo school site. Drainage and grading efforts are progressing, moving a lot of soil. You'll see some pictures there. We will be adding that pathway that council spoke about and are able to do it within the budget of the project, so that's a good thing. 30th Avenue pathway, talked about that. Public Works Spray Park opened on May 21st after some seasonal repairs. Sports field maintenance, they've done some overseeding on the soccer fields, and turf fertilization commenced on May 21st, so they're anticipating having all 3 services within the next 2 weeks. That's the aeration as well. Fencing replacement, if you notice down 50th Street to the south, there's been a big chunk of fence replaced. It looks really good. So that's just wrapping up. Final piece will be put into place this week. Pothole repairs, there's some great stats there. They've maintained momentum over the past 2 weeks. The weather certainly helped us. They've shifted from high traffic arterials now into collect roads and residential sectors and different parking lots as well. Since our last update on May 12th, crews have utilized an additional 16.43 tons of asphalt to patch over 1,400 potholes, bringing our total to the year of close to 30 tons and almost 2,000 potholes. I thought our roads fared fairly well this year. Wasn't a whole lot of freeze thaw, but I think the crews did a great job of getting out there. Service requests for potholes, a significant improvement. Had 106 last year, and we've had just 16 this year, so that shows the extra effort and the emphasis on service delivery that this council brings to the table, and you've seen an 85% reduction in those pothole complaints. I am just about done. Water utility maintenance, crews underway for the annual summer water system maintenance program. It's a busy time. You got hydrant painting, you got hydrant flushing, valve exercising. All of this work needs to be done to make sure our water system operates as it's designed. So you'll see people, our water folks, out and about and signage as they're flushing and ensuring our systems are good to go. Four Seasons Concession and Spray Park, they're now open. The Four Seasons washrooms, concession washrooms, specific hours. Spray Park washrooms, again, you see some hours that are open daily. Flowers are starting to install. That's a huge undertaking in our city, and I think our summer crews do just a fabulous job under Sherry's guidance, and you'll see planters popping up in a whole bunch of different places. I drove by Juno Park today and saw a whole bunch of trees being planted, so that's pretty cool. I know our city really loves their trees, and it really helps the ambiance. So you can see different areas where there'd be more trees being installed, and this is part of the grant that council approved, the matching grant, to help us with our urban canopy. So we'll be putting in by completion by June 1st of over 120 trees. That's all I got. Thank you, everybody who participated, who supported, who came out for Beaumont Days this past weekend. That includes council serving, what did I say? You tell me, over 800 hot dogs in one sitting. So I'm pretty certain there's probably not a hot dog in South Edmonton that's on a store shelf right now. So thank you to everybody.
At least not in Beaumont. Thank you so much. I was just thinking, as you're talking about Juno Park and the trees, I saw this documentary. I won't get all the details, but basically about how even having trees in your environment improves your health. Just being able to go out and just to see the trees improves someone's health. So, Councillor Van Newkirk. Oops, let's go try that again. Good.
There we go. Yeah, thank you. And for those keeping track, that's one dog served about every 12 and a half seconds for 2 hours, 20 minutes. So it was a lot of fun, and I can't wait for next year. I just wanted to comment on 30th Ave's sidewalk and also acknowledge the good work that the team has done in cleaning up W Pond as well.
W Pond.
Yeah, I don't know what more to call it,
Yeah.
but that's when you look from the sky,
Yep.
it looks like a W. And, just the mowing of all that and cleaning it up, it looks so good and complements what they're trying to do with the sod along the sidewalk and really finishes that off. So just a compliment for the team there as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. Echo that. Councillor
We've
Hyde?
enlisted the geese to help fertilize this new sod.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a big thank you and kudos to the team for connecting the path at the Russo Field. Fantastic work there in order to get it into the project. And I know that that's going to be excellent for people walking, biking to the sports fields, doing what they want to do there and not having to drive to the parking lot, those type of things. I think it's going to be fantastic for that route to be there. So just want to say kudos to Aaron and the team for putting that
I'll
together.
pass that along.
Yes, very, 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 very noticeable. The community had lots of comments over the weekend. I think probably all of the councillors would attest to this from residents as they came up to get the hot dogs or just meeting with them at different points. They were just very, very happy with what they're seeing in the community and all the services and just the excellence that's happening. So I just want to say thank you to all of our administration for the work that you do and pass that along to all the departments involved.
Will do. Yes, thank you very much.
And even the staff who helped us out at the barbecue when we had to pivot a few times. Very, very thankful. Very, very thankful for them. So thank you so much. That concludes. I don't look to you, Madam Clerk. I don't believe we have any CIs or notice of motion, do we?
That's correct. I haven't received any councillor inquiries or notice of motions.
Okay. And notices of motion at this point? Nothing. Okay. Then that concludes our regular meeting. And with that, do we have anything else? Nope. All right. I officially close the meeting at 7:02. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.